Okay, we're back, folks. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. Now, where we're up to is what we're trying to do, and you're going to have to do some research at home so I can get through the show. If you go to the New Georgia Project's website, it says more than 225,000 registered voters, okay? So we know in that interview that Stacey Abrams, okay, Stacey Abrams was going to told Fox 5, we have the 200,000. We know where to get them. Now in 2013, can we go to that video? Did you leave off where you left off? Can you back up about 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes, on the last video we were playing? All right, do that.
And under the new iteration of that policy, it appears to be even more racially targeted. Under the old version of the law, the registrations he was snagging with this policy, again, were 76% Black, Latino, or Asian. Under the new iteration of the law, it's 80% Black, Latino, or Asian. See, he's getting better at this. Meanwhile, the Associated Press this week revealed under the new iteration of this policy for Brian Kemp, his office is sitting on over 50,000 applications for voter registrations that he has set aside because of the new iteration of this exact match program that he invented, where you don't count as registered if there's an extra space somewhere, or there's a period missing, or a hyphen missing, or somebody misspelled your name by one letter. More than 50,000. As we reported at this time last night, the same civil rights group that sued Brian Kemp over the last iteration of this policy have now filed another lawsuit against him to try to basically free those voter registrations and get him to stop doing this. But here's the question. In the state of Georgia, election systems are not like a normal level of screwed up. Georgia elections under Brian Kemp specifically have become special, very special in their big problems. That would be a big enough problem for the state if Brian Kemp was just running this year to stay on for another glorious term as Secretary of State in Georgia, running the state's election infrastructure. But instead, he is both running the state's election infrastructure, administering this year's elections, running this year's voter registration process as Secretary of State, and simultaneously, he is running as the Republican Party's candidate for governor in the same election. Imagine you're Stacey Abrams. How do you run against a guy who's holding that kind of power in this process? How do you run to win, right? How do you run against a guy when he is serving both as your competitor at the top of the ticket in the election, and he is serving as the umpire, who has very specific, very aggressive, very apparently racially inflected ideas about who gets to vote, about who.
All right, keep in mind, as Rachel Mount, I wanted to show you that because so many of you there at home, you don't watch that stuff, and I understand, but that is what's getting spewed out as those lies, okay? All right, that's getting spewed out. More than 225,000 registered voters. Now, nothing in the world, can you take that out of my ear, friend? Nothing in the world is further from the truth of what that lady is sitting there. And that's what concerns me. I don't hate people. I promise. I come here, I don't hate anybody. What concerns me is when somebody like that has, and that's what I want you to think about when it comes to the media, because that's one of the things I love to study is the media. When somebody like that has the research team, has all the funding they need, can do all the homework, they have nothing else to do. This lady does not have to, let me say it this way, this lady does not have to run MSNBC. She doesn't have to. She doesn't have to make any decisions other than set up her show. She can work 24/7 on setting up her show and doing the research. Here, I don't have that luxury. And I say it that way, I call it a luxury, but I don't get to just go home and set up a show tomorrow. We have 100 other things going on here. We're a small business I have to be involved in. But I at least have time to look up the New Georgia Project. I at least have time to look up to where they have registered over 225,000 people. I here have the time to do the research for the truth when they have the resources and don't bring you the truth. Yeah, exactly. So what I want to focus on right there is 2013, okay? Now, they sued Brian Kemp, and this is where you're going to have to do some research and you're going to have to dig, okay? Because when you have federal laws, all right, remember exact match. Let's pay attention. Don't take it wrong, but pay attention. Exact match. You keep hearing exact match, exact match. First of all, they're blaming it on the registrars, okay? So whoever is entering the information, they're the bad people. So they should be an uproar in your county of the way they're treating your people, saying they're the bad people entering the data. Okay, that's number one. But after 9/11, not going too far into the weeds here, after 9/11, a lot of exact match things started taking place in federal legislation, okay? A lot of it started taking place. Not just voter registration. You know, passports, different things, identifications, addresses. There was a lot of scrutiny on exact match of ID and who people are and where they were going and where they were moving about the world and where they were traveling. That started happening in 9/11, the scrutiny. Now, there's some federal legislation out there, okay, that applies to exact match. And what happened in 2013, okay, is Brian Kemp attempted as Secretary of State to implement, coming back off federal legislation, an exact match policy for our voting system, okay? Now, when he was sued as Secretary of State, actually, the state has to enact that first under state law to complement federal law before the Secretary of State can do it. And this is where you're going to have to do some research. But that's really, now they have all this money and they run in with all these lawsuits, but they don't tell you the truth. So the federal legislation has a provision for exact match. You know, documents have to be exactly matched, okay? Your state has to pass a law complementing the federal legislation, and then your Secretary of State can implement things for the exact match. So what happened in 2013, folks? On there, Republicans in the state of Georgia knew what Stacey Abrams was ready to do. They knew the game plan. They knew they were going to get out there and do anything and everything to find that 225,000 votes they need. Whether it be break the law, whatever, they knew. And they knew to safeguard our elections, free and fair elections. See, what gets me upset when it comes to this is the Democrats talk about free and fair elections and accurate elections. Realistically, what your Secretary of State has done, regardless of the name, Brian Kemp or not, and your Republican, and I do not take up for them that often. You're watching the wrong, you're making a mistake if you think I take up for the Georgia Republicans 7 days a week, okay? But in this case, their effort, and that I'm going to give them credit for, their effort to try to make sure that Georgia has free, safe, fair elections without hacking. I know all the media hype on hacking. Okay? They are really interested in making sure that you, as a citizen of the United States of America, a legal resident of the state of Georgia, are able to go cast an accurate vote for the candidate of your choice. Period. That's how simple it is. You can write that sentence and there it is. That's all they're asking. But they know Abrams. Remember the video? I told you, 200,000, right? They know that gap. Now you go look up the new Georgia project. You watch the video, they know it. And they're excited. They blast it out. You got to leave it on the website and it'll come up. 225,000 registered voters. So in 2013 to 2016, here's what happened is Brian Kemp enacted exact match. All right? While Stacey Abrams was in the, has always done this, has been in the Georgia Legislative House of Representatives as the minority leader, fighting and opposing, okay, opposing online voter registration. Now, I will tell you this. I know somebody that went over to our local voter registration office to register to vote. And they went in and said, can I get a voter registration form to fill out to register to vote? And they were told, you can do that. But if you'll go home and go online and register to vote online, then everything will be accurate and you will know immediately if it's not. Okay? Stacey Abrams fought that because this is all a setup with Rachel Maddow. This is all a setup with CNN. This is all set up with MSNBC. Civil liberty lawyers or whatever, civil liberty rights or whatever they are, the lawsuit, it's all set up. So she fought online because she wants a Rachel Maddow to blame your county registrar for the handwritten registrations that they're compiling illegally from people canvassing and getting paid for it. All right? So in 2013, the Republicans knew, all right? They knew there would be this New Georgia project, and that this New Georgia project would go out and do anything they had to do to find their Democrat 200,000 vote gap. Because you heard in the video, oh, we have the votes. We know there's two. Where are you going to get 200,000? We have them. Then you heard in the first video, documented or undocumented, LGBT, black. But why are these votes, voter registrations, in 35 out of the 35,000, I forget, they said the majority, let's just say, you know, the first time in 2016, right, 70%, okay, and 70 to 80% are minorities, okay, people of color, black Georgians, and black voter registrations. Why? Why 60 to 70%? Because they're handwritten. Why? Because the people canvassing are going down and filling out these forms, and they are not getting these forms correct. They're not legible on purpose. They're not legible on purpose. The zip codes are not correct on purpose. The contact information is not correct on purpose. There's no way to get back in touch with these people. The addresses, the email, the contact, it's not legible on purpose. And then these people turn these voters' registrations in, and now you got 225,000, and 70% are being held up are black registered voters or people attempting allegedly to vote. So what happened? 2013. The Republicans knew, okay, Brian Kemp knew that they were going to try this here and do whatever they had to do to register people, legal, not legal, right, wrong, indifferent. He put in exact match, got sued. The actual lawsuit, if you'll pay attention to it, all right, only meant that he was not able to circumvent the system and go around the state, which I don't think that was intentional. The way I said it might sound like he tried to do something, but he went straight off federal regulation. There's legislation. You got to do the research. So what did the state of Georgia do? They turned around and said, okay, we are going to now pass legislation. So the state of Georgia passed legislation allowing for him to implement exact match. He's not broke any laws. None. Okay? Now, they're not happy. They have lawsuits pending, but he hasn't broken any laws. The state of Georgia, they went through all of the federal, and they wrote legislation to match or complement what they were supposed to do from the federal government, which allowed Brian Kemp to institute exact match. So in Georgia, you should be thankful that you have some people working on free and fair and accurate elections to the best of their ability, no matter the manipulation and lies of the media. So let's look at this here. Let's go to picture 2. Number 2. We have the votes. You know what I'm doing, Josh? I keep looking at the wrong monitor because I'm not used to it yet. There's number 2. We have the votes. Right there in the interview. You have 200,000 gap. We have them. She smiles. We have them. Number 3, on the campaign trail there with Elizabeth Warren, documented and undocumented. Okay? Because they have the votes. Number 4, go look up the New Georgia Project, all right, and get the truth on these lawsuits. And 5A, the New Georgia Project reaches 221,897 submitted voter registrations. Submitted. Not accurate. Not accurate. Canvassers that get paid. Are they out to steal the election in Georgia? They may. And they've got the money people behind them. And they're trying. I'm your host, BKP. We're going to take a brief break. We will be back. This is going to be we'll be back right at the top of the hour. We got some things to get ready for the next hour. Here is... We'll come back. Got a couple more comments on this. I hope this is helpful, but you got to go look up some things on your own. I'm your host, BKP. We'll be back at the top of the hour.